Um, those of you who know me hear me say all the time, you risk a yes every time you ask for something. Are you willing to take the risk? If they say no, what have I lost? Nothing, nothing. So make sure that you are talking to your colleagues, that you're nurturing past relationships and past champions. Also, for clients that you've reached out to, they may be on your mailing list. Maybe they're getting a free newsletter, but they've never hired you. This is the time to ask them to hire you. And even a simple email, again, a PDF of that core offering sheet that says, I've enjoyed having you on my email list. Since you seem to enjoy my email, you'd love one of my programs. Ask for what you want, suggest what you want them to do. A second strategy is, I think is really key, and it's really positioning, which many of you know is my big thing, positioning for relevance. I want you to go from being a speaker to being an expert and a resource. I want your clients, your prospects to think of you as the go-to solution for what's going on out in the world today. And I think that this can be challenging. I'm thinking back to several months ago when DEI programs started to disappear off of wish lists. And there were a lot of us who spoke on DEI in National Speakers Association. I wrote a piece. You can also find, you can do a search on my blogs on my website if you want to read all about it. But I said the fact that diversity, equity, and inclusion, which I prefer to call diversity, equity, and belonging, wasn't politically correct and still isn't politically correct with a lot of companies. The challenges being faced are still the same. They might not want to use that term, but they still need what we have to say about those things. And so what you have to do really is just change the language around that. To belonging, you need to change the language around it. Here's a word that we are hearing all the time now. All of you are hearing, and your colleagues are hearing when getting booked. Please, regardless of what your topic is, please make sure there's a good engagement factor. Well, how about using that as a sales tool? Are your employees feeling engaged? And I'm going to remind you what we learned during COVID. Having a meeting in and of itself is an act of engagement. So while you're doing that, how about if your employees would learn something? Challenge them. Is it time you bring your employees together? I've told the story before of a time when I called a prospect of mine that I'd been talking to for a couple of years, had never bought anything, but wanted every free thing that I offered. And I called him and he said, I don't have anything coming up. And I said, at the time I was speaking on sales, do you think you should be doing something for your salespeople? And he said, yes. You risk a yes every time you ask for something. Are you willing to take the risk? Positioning for relevance, becoming a real resource, and that can go into selling a speech and then looking at what can come after the speech. How can you serve the client after the speech? How can they take a next step with you? Aftercare, which many of you have heard me talk about before, it's the last chapter in the new edition and the old edition of my book. I think aftercare is really important. It allows us to continue working with that client, most likely virtually, but not necessarily, but most likely virtually. That was my favorite way to do it. And you can read all about that in that chapter. I'm not going to take a lot of time to talk about that. But it's all of the different ways that you can put your intellectual property out in the marketplace and people can invest in it.